It started at the Bloomstone Country Club in the spring of 2025. The event was one of those ultra-exclusive charity auctions that only the ultra-wealthy attend. Polished marble floors, men in tuxedos swirling brandy, and women in gowns that shimmered like the chandeliers above. Among the guests was billionaire real estate tycoon Richard Voss and his much younger wife, Serafina Voss. She was everything tabloids loved to write about: former model, dripping in couture, sharp-tongued, and louder with her diamonds than with her voice. She had a reputation that preceded her, and that reputation often arrived wearing arrogance like a badge of honor. Across the room, standing near the silent auction tables, was a woman named Monique Harris. A quiet figure in a simple blue dress, Monique didn't glow with money. She wasn't there as a donor or celebrity. She worked for the event's logistics team. Her job was to make sure the auction items were labeled correctly and to coordinate pickups at the end of the night. She was a professional, composed, and invisible to most of the guests. Except to Serafina. The incident happened just after the auction for a custom Aston Martin had concluded. Serafina, wine glass in hand, was admiring the car when she spotted Monique taking inventory at the table nearby. With a scoff and no care for who might hear, she turned to her circle of equally elite friends and said with a sneer, "Some of these people think dressing in department store rags means they belong here. You'd think we were running a soup kitchen, not a charity gala." Her friends laughed, their chuckles like sharp glass. Monique heard it. Everyone near the car heard it. A beat of silence followed, and Monique turned toward the laughter, not in anger, not in shame, but with the grace of someone who had heard worse before. She locked eyes with Serafina, gave her a small nod, and turned back to her clipboard. Richard Voss, Serafina's husband, stood not far away. He had witnessed the entire exchange. He wasn't the kind of man who exploded in public. Decades of boardroom negotiations had taught him how to dismantle someone without raising his voice. But the tightening of his jaw and the deliberate way he put down his drink sent a ripple through the crowd closest to him. He walked over to Monique. "Excuse me," he said quietly, as the crowd fell awkwardly still. "Are you Monique Harris?" She looked up, puzzled. "Yes, sir. I want to apologize for my wife's behavior. It was unacceptable." Serafina's face went pale. The silence turned electric. Richard turned to the stunned guests and raised his voice, calm but firm. "Let me be perfectly clear. My wife's comments do not reflect the values of this family, or of this foundation. And for the record," he glanced back at Serafina, "wealth is not measured by the label on your dress. It's measured by your integrity." A woman in pearls gasped. Serafina tried to recover with a nervous laugh, but Richard wasn't finished. "Monique Harris is not just an event worker," he continued. "She owns the logistics company that's handling tonight's gala. I specifically hired her after she executed the International Health Summit in Johannesburg flawlessly. Her company saved this event when our previous planner failed to meet deadlines. She's the reason tonight is a success." The crowd froze. Serafina blinked. Richard's voice dropped into an unmistakable edge. "I suggest everyone here think twice before assuming someone's value by their clothes. Some of you are wearing thousands of dollars worth of fabric and still couldn't hold a candle to Ms. Harris's work ethic. It was the kind of public rebuke that wasn't just heard, it was felt." Serafina tried to speak, but Richard cut her off without raising his voice. "We'll speak at home." Then he turned back to Monique. "Thank you for your professionalism tonight. If there's anything else you need, my team is at your disposal." With that, he offered her his business card and walked away, leaving Serafina standing alone in her shame, her glass trembling slightly in her hand. What happened after became the talk of the elite circles for weeks. Whispers spread fast. How Richard Voss had publicly humiliated his own wife for mocking a black woman who was, in fact, a business powerhouse. It was the kind of story that made its way into private newsletters, not tabloids, because no one wanted their name attached to the wrong side of that moment. But the story didn't end there. The following month, Richard Voss's company, Voss Global Holding.